right, so I'm going to go last. Finance Technology Committee met on September 7th. One of the things that we discussed is we're going to be selling some obsolete equipment. I don't know when that's going to be on the agenda, but that was one of the things that was discussed. We discussed the ESIP program, which is a funding mechanism in which we can do energy savings improvements, and take the saved money to pay off bonds so that we don't have to touch capital reserves. The committee at its next meeting, I'll finalize the date sometime today, or excuse me, sometime tomorrow. We'll also meet with the same company that the facilities committee met with. They'll do a presentation to the finance committee with the idea that they will also do a presentation to the public, which we're hoping will be at our next meeting, correct? Correct. And I don't know, we also discussed ESSER funds, and possibly if you want to give us a little bit more information on the ESSER funds.
Sure. The federal government, in response to the pandemic, has provided districts with a few grants in the past, and some current and some still going forward. In the past, there was a coronavirus relief fund, ESSER 1, ESSER 2. ESSER stands for Elementary and Secondary Schools Education Relief Act, and the newest grant is ESSER 3, informally known as ESSER 3, but it's called American Recovery Program. And so ESSER 3 funds, or I keep calling it ESSER 3, the ARP as it's known. We have approximately $270,000 or $80,000 of grant money. We have about 2.5 years to spend the money. At least 25% of that, or about $72,000, has to be spent on instructional programs to provide academic improvement. Some call it recovery of learning loss, some call it learning acceleration. The remainder of that can be also put to instruction, can also be put to PPE, and could be put to air quality improvements, such as cleaning out, upgrading your systems, upgrading HVAC. So there's a wide range of options available, and the first part of the grant application is due in November.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I think we welcome you back, Dr. Rasika. Certainly, you being here helps the board, gives direction to the board, and certainly direction to our students coming in that come to our board meetings and to our citizens. So I appreciate that. I listened very, very closely to what Mr. Carolyn said with regard to the education and curriculum that was passed recently. And I'm just going to point out something. My position was to pause it, not to not pass it. And I wanted the new superintendent to have an opportunity to look at it and give the public an opportunity to read more about it. And just to give you an idea, so if we were to make a comparison, this evening, I believe 3 or 4 board members abstained on admission of medical cannabis because they said they didn't have an opportunity to review it. And let's compare that to the passing of our curriculum, which I said should be paused, which is thousands of pages long. So in this particular case, you have a one-page policy in which you say you didn't have enough time to read, and you abstained because you didn't have time to read it. Whereas you have a full curriculum that's thousands upon thousands of pages, but you had no issue voting for that, even though the public asked for a pause. And I certainly didn't say, let's not vote on it. All I said is, let's pause to January, and then implement it then. Gives us more time to review it. It's brand new. I also knew that many of the things that our current curriculum had already met the standards, and that the curriculum, it's all in the application of that curriculum. So, you know, you could look at what was passed by the state, and I agree with you, we have to follow the law. But, you know, one set of eyes say, well, in order to meet the standards, we could do this. And then another set of eyes could say, in order to meet the standards, we could do that. And so there's always that opportunity for school districts to put their own, well, what's the word I'm looking for? To put their own opinion, let's say, on what the curriculum should be. That's what we have boards of education for, is to review that. And I can appreciate the work that you did in your committee meetings. I just wanted to point out that my position when I voted no was not no on the curriculum. My position was I wished to pause it and to vote on it after the superintendent had an opportunity, the new superintendent that's coming in had an opportunity to look at it as well. I'd also like to point out again, with regards to the criticism of Mrs. LaForgia and the letter from the association, I just felt that the letter itself was a bit premature. I can tell you, in 4 committee meetings, it took the 4th meeting to even get to the point where we knew where the administration stood on board meetings. And that happened a couple of days ago. So if you noticed at the beginning of this meeting, I told members of the community, if you do have a health issue, or if you have a disability, please sit on the left side of the auditorium. That was not a decision I made. That was a decision that administrators told me to give the public. So we didn't have that guidance prior to this meeting. And quite frankly, I don't know anyone's health position. I don't know if someone has a disability, but those are laws too. So in other words, we can't cherry pick the law either. We can't say, okay, we like this part of the law, so we're going to follow that part, but we don't like these 2 parts. And it's not just these laws, there's other laws that are involved as well. I believe the Americans for Disabilities Act is one of the laws, and we have to follow that as well. So it's difficult when you get an executive order on a Friday night, then you have a meeting, and then you have a policy committee meeting on that, and then you have to get something ready for the school year. So typically, just to give you an example, we have 1 committee meeting a month. We had, in the scope of 4 weeks, we have 4 policy committee meetings in 4 weeks. And now we're having another one next week. So it's not like we're just saying, hey, look, we don't want to address this issue. It's just that the issues involved, we wanted to get them right. We didn't want to do it in a way that was going to put any individual child in a wrong position, because we did have to follow law and there were exemptions. So I would just say to the criticism of Ms. LaForgia that, teachers union, like I said, I support them. I support the teachers. I always have. I just felt that the criticism was a bit premature, but hey, look, There's plenty of people in my life that I love, and, sometimes, you can support them 150%, but there's one issue that you may disagree with them on. That doesn't mean you support them any less. It certainly doesn't mean that you're going to love them any less. And I think that the profession of teaching is a noble profession, and that is the reason why I have stood before other boards advocating on behalf of teachers. And that is why on this board, although I can't be on negotiations, I have never voted in a way in which I felt I would hurt the teachers in any way. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm going to close with that, but I also want to open it up to any other comments for any other board member. And I'll start with Ms. On this side. Any comments?
I don't have anything more right now. Thank you.
Sullivan?
No.
Any comments on this side? Ms. Koulikodis?
Yes, I just want to clarify, John, that the reason that I abstained on the cannabis is because it came this afternoon and I work too, and that is why I abstained. It's not because we had months or weeks or time to review. It was not enough time. It was not sufficient time. If I don't read something, I'm not going to comment on it. So that is why I did that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. King?
I share what Ms. Koulikodis said, and just to Ms. Koulikodis's point, Mr. Budo, we all had the curriculum and we all had time to review the curriculum for about a month, and I don't think that it's a fair comparison to compare a one-page document to the curriculum. I personally met with Mr. Sutherland. I had time to ask questions. I felt that all my questions were answered. I asked Dr. Rashika questions. I really don't think that you were comparing apples to apples, but again, that's just my opinion. So I abstained as well because we received it less than 4 hours ago. That's very different than how much time we had to review the curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Mr. Carolyn?
Thanks, John. With regards to the curriculum, I understand, the points you're bringing out, but I also want to point out that this was the most transparent effort we've ever made with the curriculum. We have never actually shared it with the public before, and we made great strides in getting it out there, getting it communicating, and more importantly, now with the curriculum, parents will be able to communicate and comment on it all year long. So again, it's not what people want. I understand that, and I understand the disappointment that some have felt with the way it was executed. But again, I think we have to balance that against the law we were asked to enforce and execute, which was the beginning of the school year, and the fact that we did review pieces of that, and that we feel that it was fair. So, but I understand your point of view, John. I appreciate you sharing that, and that's the value of a board, that we're going to have probably disagreements about things. But again, I think that, we really tried to make differences with the way we did the curriculum this year for obvious reasons, and it's been more transparent than it's ever been.
Thank you, Mr. Carolyn. I don't want to forget, Mr. Sedicati, did you have anything?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Can I just give it a quick few
Yeah,
seconds?
absolutely.
I just, before we move on, I just want to speak while I still have a little oxygen left in the tank here. But I really want to thank the Board of Ed. I want to thank you as parents and community members for your support while I was sick. I never expected to get that sick. Things happen. But more importantly, your patience and waiting and understanding to our students. And I really want to thank the administration, my administrative team, from my directors, principals, assistant principals, that really were supportive, and we got the school year up and running, and I'm happy about that. So I will be phasing back in hopefully next week as far as being in the office, and I look forward to doing the most and best that I can until Dr. Dionisio comes in November. And I'm here. I just believe that we need to have more open dialogue to discuss the problems or concerns